Well, welcome to Revealing Conversations with Petra Nicoll. I have the great pleasure of talking to REVEAL again, our favorite shaman from England. And today's subject will be ETs, aliens. I'm excited about that. So let me just give you Arnie's brief bio. REVEAL is a spiritual teacher and specialist in all things considered paranormal. Although trained in traditional shaman lore through her bloodline, her objective as a suburban shaman is to clarify information and share spiritual knowledge appropriate for today's busy, noisy, misinformed world. In addition to her private practice, she has several channels on YouTube. Her regular podcast, Metaphysical Martini, hosted by Cosmic Reality Radio and also available on YouTube, is a cosmic reality check, presented with a good dose of humor and as much grace and empathy as can be mustered on any given day. Let the spirit inhabit the human.
Yes.
Arnie, welcome again.
Hi, Petra. Nice to be with you again, love.
I am so pleased today. I finally planted my starts. So I've been seed planting all morning, and I haven't been able to get to my nail person. So I thought, what the heck, no more gloves. I'm just digging into the dirt.
Good.
So maybe we can dig into the dirt a little bit right now. How about that?
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's talk about dirt.
I have a question. So did ETs come up in shaman training? And if yes, how was it presented to you? Like when did you have your first experience with ETs?
What did it come up in training? Yes, it did, of course, but not as something special, not as, and now we're going to talk about ETs. It was presented in a way that, if you understand the way the cosmos was created with source energy and then the Big Bang, and then all the realms of experience before we got into anything physical. So by the time that's explained to you, you understand that life exists all over the place, and it would be a ridiculous thing to think that you are the only planet in the cosmos that has any type of life on it. So, shamanism is about big picture first. So yes, and we take it for granted. And I think I've always had experiences with ETs for as long as I had an independent conscious mind. I remember as a child blue lights coming into my room, and I remember interacting with them. And I remember asking them to show me their true form. And they said that they were unable to do that at this time, but they would give me little portals, little windows where I could take a look into their world. So it's just always something that I've taken for granted. And then as I progressed in my life, as I grew up, and I think, I probably have said, I didn't mention this a couple of years ago, but times have changed now and everything's becoming declassified. My father's hotel in London was a safe house for military intelligence. So I grew up in that environment. And throughout the course of my life, my intuitive skill set has been useful to organizations that exist and organizations that don't exist. So all of this I've seen from 2 points of view. From the point of view of a shaman, trying to teach people about how the cosmos was formed and what alignment is about, and also how the establishment has used this information and manipulated it in nefarious ways.
Very interesting. So what was it like? Did you actually grow up in that hotel?
I didn't live in the hotel. I lived in the hotel at various times when I was an adult, because my work caused me to travel a lot and it was convenient. No, we had a house in the suburbs, but we spent a lot of time in the hotel. Mm-hmm. And it's just one of those things, you don't realize it till you're a little bit older, that all of these people it was a regular hotel as well, tourists would come, it was very well located. But you realize a little bit later on in life that all those people that the British Council booked into your hotel, you saw their faces on the television in the news at some time later on. You know, so it was interesting, and I think I was told fairly early on what I was going to be doing with the rest of my life. So it, you know, didn't take me long to figure it out.
Where was the hotel? Because I used to live in London.
Bayswater.
Bayswater, where is that?
West London. It's if you go, you know where Notting Hill Gate is?
Yes.
Notting Hill Gate, Kensington, you know, just follow down the main road there, and just go, you'll get to the Bayswater Road on the way to Lancaster Gate and Marble Arch.
Oh.
And it was on Queensborough Terrace.
I used to live in Hampstead.
Oh yeah, well that's the posh area.
The posh area. Golders Green first, and then
yes. Oh yeah, no, that's the posh area. We didn't live in the posh area.
I was poor then. My God, was I poor. I lived on eggs and beans for 2 months. It was bad.
I've been there.
It was when I met my Persian husband at the university, and the war broke out in Iran 2 weeks later. Oof. And his father was in the regime of the Shah and tortured for 6 months. So we had no money. It was bad. It was the first real true wake-up call to how corrupt the world had become. Yeah. It was the first wake-up call to understanding that nothing that we hear in the news is real. Yeah. And that most of it was lies. So I had it. Yeah. Straight
I'm hoping a lot of people are waking up to that today, right now.
Yeah, and this was 1970. When was this? Let me see here. 1979? Well, when was the war? Yeah, 1979 or 78. I was 17. I just left, and I left in August for London and met Fuad at the university 2 months later, and then the war broke out. So that was interesting. But let's continue with alien conversation. This is a sad story. If you want to know more about that story, read my book, Petra's Ashes. It's all in there, the whole thing, so I don't have to talk about it anymore. This is the good thing about writing an autobiography. You never have to tell about your life again.
Yeah, just buy the book, people. Buy the book.
Get it out, and you never have to repeat it again. So how much historical reference do we have of alien interaction with humans?
I think that if we spend some time in university departments and reading between the lines, there's actually quite a lot. There are medieval manuscripts as early as the early medieval time. I mean, there's stuff way before that, but documented stuff from the 1100s, etc., in the British Isles that I know of, that talks of one day little strange greeny gray children showed up into a village, and they looked very lost and disoriented, and people wanted to take them in and look after them, and they wouldn't eat meat, they would only eat vegetables, they couldn't communicate, but their eyes were piercing as if they were trying to make telepathic contact with people, you know. So there's a lot of this. And then when we look at Renaissance art, we will see pictures of Jesus going up into a spaceship and spaceship beams, and you know, anybody who studies, you just even Google aliens plus ancient art and it all comes up. And of course we can go all the way back to Egyptian times and pre-Egyptian times, where they were always genetically modifying bodies for extraterrestrial spirits to have a proper host in. So if we dig a little bit, there's an awful lot, really. You can't really deny it.
Mm-hmm. That is true. Stephen Greer did a lot of research. So if any of my viewers would like to know more about it, just go to YouTube and in the search bar, put in Stephen Greer. You'll find a lot of information. Or David Wilcock and Corey Good.
Yeah, oh, Corey Good, yeah. Great starting points. Just start somewhere.
Exactly. The Synchronicity Key by David Wilcock. Great book.
And also just look at ancient Egyptian steles, and take a look at some of the, or Mayan, or any ancient culture. Take a look at their artwork, you know, and tell me that these aren't aliens. And you see Mayans, etc., or ancient civilizations, and they're all holding little handbags.
What are the handbags about?
Little handbags. Those are power packs. If you look at the Apollo astronauts, they're all holding little handbags. They're little power packs. So, it doesn't take much, people. Critical thinking, put two and two together. That's fun.
I got a little power pack yesterday from a healer / medium who programs, like I do with biofeedback. She programmed into vials of sand all of the vitamins and minerals and so forth that you need in your body. And you need to keep it about 100 feet from your being at all times. So I have my little power pack with me now.
What a great idea.
Yeah, you must meet her. We saw her at a energy medicine talk at McMiniman School in Portland a few months ago. And she came to bring us our power packs yesterday.
What's her name?
Her name is Sue, and I can't remember her last name, but I'll put that in the description beneath the video. So when all this lifts and we can all congregate together, we will have a talk with you, obviously, too. And I would love to bring a few shamans and healers here to decipher what just happened.
Fabulous. I'm in.
So that would be a good party. That would be a great gathering. So why was this covered up by the establishment? The whole agenda covered up so much.
Because when people have a sense of the expansiveness of the cosmos, they begin to have an idea of how unlimited they are. And then they look up to the stars and think about something simple like, I wonder if other people live there. And that shatters the illusion of that you're just physical. It shatters the illusion of duality. And it starts to shatter all the erroneous programming. And before you know it, people are actually becoming spiritually aligned with a sense of their cosmic glory. And they don't need the state or the establishment. And of course, the establishment don't want that. And they cover it up under the guise of, oh, the people can't handle it. Same old story, any era in history, same story, different players.
Is this just about power and control and manipulation?
Always.
So, but who is the establishment?
Well, if you want to go back to the beginning of who it is, it's part of the reptilian empire that came to colonize this planet. So I don't think it's too far-fetched for people to think of planet Earth rather as a franchise of an empire, rather like Subway has sandwich shops all over the place. Probably not the best analogy, but I'm hungry. So here we go again. So that's the very basis of it. You want to think, if you look at the way the establishment work, they take this planet, they want to globalize it and centralize it, which means they're running it as a company. They have no room for soul sovereignty, no room for national sovereignty, no room for the correct spiritual alignment of a physical realm, which is unity through diversity. They want to homogenize, sanitize, pasteurize, dehumanize everything, and ultimately upload the consciousness into some sort of artificial intelligence, cloud like we have on our computers.
Well, Elon Musk talked about that. He warned about AI, yet he is the producer thereof.
Yeah,
that's
how they do it. They talk about these things and watch it out, but they're doing it. I mean, when you look at things like the Bilderberg Group, and if anybody doesn't know who the Bilderberg Group, please look it up, because it's very important that you understand that the establishment are the purveyors of deep state ideology. And if you don't understand the unwarranted influence that deep state ideology has had on this planet, there's no point in you discussing anything on the political and world arena, because it won't make sense. So when you look at, because the Bilderberg Group, they have a website and they post the members that are going to attend, and they post the agenda. Now, they don't write, we are the evil, dominant, globalist, blah, blah, blah. It's just, a website. They think of themselves as a think tank. But you can see that artificial intelligence was at the bottom of the list, and it started creeping up, creeping up, creeping up, creeping up. And when it got to the top of the list, then the thing that superseded, you know, the thing above it then was, what are we going to do with all the people that are going to be useless eaters once the artificial intelligence takes over? So there's your establishment. Think of it as a group of people running the planet as a company, and who they actually are the people that control the money. And I have to say that, you know, when America started getting a lot of influence in the world after the Second World War, it still was, I believe, on its way to its sacred purpose, unity through diversity. Mm-hmm. But Eisenhower was very proactive in pointing out that he realized that a lot of power was in the hands of very few people. And he thought that America was going to not be a country anymore, but rather some sort of global money laundering operation. That's your deep state. But at that time, all of the different aspects of all of the different organizations that control our lives, medical, pharmaceutical, military, industrial, judicial, financial, anything that runs your life, they didn't really talk to each other. They didn't really say, well, we're the pharmaceutical industry, we're going to make a drug, let's run it by the media, or let's run it by the army. It was the Bilderberg group that brought everybody together under one roof and said, look, let's all tell each other what we're going to do, and then we can run the planet together. Make sense?
Makes sense. So why is it that, what is this law about where they have to actually spill the beans, so to speak, to the public? But most of the time the public doesn't catch it or even understand what it means. But there's some kind of a law in the universe where they'd have to say what they're going to do next.
Yeah.
But it's sometimes so outworldish that we can't react to it.
It's a reptilian, but you know, not all reptilians are bad. There are some lovely reptilians. Let's just call it the ones that live in, the ones that refuse to co-create, the ones that want to rule the world without the blessing of source energy. They are quite literally Luciferians. And they worship Lucifer because Lucifer went from being a marvelous archangel of light to being a mad scientist who refused to be brought back into the fold of co-creation. So it's a very, it's a very military mindset, and it's a very, we run the world, we don't need to run it by the boss kind of thing, very military mindset. And their code of honor in this particular Luciferianism is that yes, we want to rule the world. Yes, we want to do unspeakable, horrendous things to people. But our code of honor demands that we broadcast it. And if there's resistance, then we gather the intelligence of the resistance and we rework our plan. So that's simply it. It's a Luciferian code of honor. And it usually shows up on The Simpsons or, you know.
Well, I did find out that The Simpsons do have some psychics on staff.
They can't not. So much that's been on The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Has happened.
Because it's too uncanny. I mean,
yeah, but you know, there's a certain type of skill set you can hone if you're an intuitive. I know you know all this. I'm just saying this for the greater, for the people out there. There's a certain type of skill set you can hone if you're an intuitive when you do remote viewing. Mm-hmm. That you can remote view various windows of potential into the future.
Mm-hmm. Well, in my opinion, every child in school should learn how to remote view. We should be teaching our children how to meditate.
Yeah.
And
we should teach them the energy anatomy. Yeah.
Teach them energy medicine from the beginning and then move them gradually into academia or whatever.
That's the way the cosmos was created.
And in India, that is actually what my spiritual teacher tried to do with his schools. But it was, very, very expensive, and there was never enough money. So I don't know where that's at the moment. Have humans been conditioned to fear aliens?
I think that if you look at the media, yes, certainly. Mm-hmm. Because so many of the movies are aliens will come and eat your liver, turn you into a cocoon, put you on your spaceship and use you as food, control your mind, all of these things. Mm-hmm. There's very few programs that put aliens in a good light. Mork and Mindy was one of them. I don't know if anyone's old enough to remember Mork and Mindy. But usually aliens are to be feared. And that, of course, is a setup. Because as the cabal keeps losing ground, virus, well, we're not buying it. This, we're not buying it. This, we're not buying it. The ultimate would be to fake an alien invasion. And if everyone's terrified of aliens, again, that won't be difficult.
Well, so I have to speak to that. There is a medium in England that I speak with and follow. And she actually said a few weeks ago that the cabal, deep state, or whoever these reptilians are so desperate now that they will try to stage an alien invasion. But she said it's just a hologram. They're not real. Stay in your house, close your eyes. They're not real. It's going to subside. It's going to go away. So I thought that was really fascinating. I'm imagining these holograms of aliens coming down. So yesterday I woke up in the middle of the night with this piercing pain through my toe, like someone had just stuck a needle in my toe, and then it just went away. As soon as I became conscious of it, I thought, "Is I just taken somewhere? Like, who is messing with my body?" I just go straight into my ethereal martial arts, and I thought, oh boy, perhaps they're already showing up. But hey, listen, if there is an invasion, it's not real. Just do not take it seriously. Close your windows, go inside, meditate, put a beautiful piece of music on, and just do not have fear. No fear, because they feed on the fear. This is what they feed on.
Don't have fear. And also, if you're on social media, etc., go around, fake invasion, hologram.
Put it all over social media. Fake, 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 fake. It's not real.
Yeah, don't buy into it. Go out on the street with your alien friends. Bring them along.
Right, all dressed up as aliens. It would be really fun if we did a reptilian carnival.
Yeah, get out there and just be stupid and go, oh, we welcome you, our new reptilian overlords.
Mm-hmm. So how do we
accept it? They're desperate.
Right. How do we as individuals encourage interaction with aliens?
Man, just be absolutely open in the same way as you would encourage interaction with any realm of consciousness everywhere. However, as an energy worker, the very first thing I will say to people is, everybody comes and says, oh, Ani, I want to be clairvoyant. And I want to be clairaudient, and I want this full intuitive skill set, and I want to talk with realms of angels and archangels and this and that and the other. And they're not really present in the physical world that they've created. Mm-hmm. So I would say start with a very simple protocol of deep breath meditation. Learn the basics of your energy anatomy so that it's pure and clear and vital and stable, and not filled with triggers and fear. And that way you can receive all the information through a place of divine and cosmic alignment. And then just know that the divine and the entire cosmos, the information is transmitted through Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi is your breath. So in the deep, slow, purposeful breathing, where every nanocell of your being is saturated with divine love, and the correct DNA, RNA codes of perfection are being reinstalled in you, make yourself understand that unless you're at a place of just calm and a clean anatomy, you're not going to be a clear receiver. Once you master that protocol, and it really doesn't take that long, then simply in your meditation, be open and receptive to the forces of light and ask to chat telepathically to whoever is out there that is in the light, and only the light. That's a place to start.
So there is a really wonderful meditation. I mean, it's a breathing technique, really. It's called Tumo breathing. And you can go to London Real on YouTube and look up Wim Hof method. Wim Hof is quite a character. He is the Iceman. You know about Wim Hof.
I do, yeah.
Yeah. So we do Wim Hof therapy here at our retreat center and stick people's feet in ice and sometimes their whole bodies before they come in and out of the Chi Builder infrared device and sweat, and then ice cold sweat, ice cold sweat. It's really healthy.
Mm.
And that breathing technique is very powerful. It really expands your lungs and makes you feel very grounded. And, you know, and this is exactly what you're talking about, Ani. When I came from India, after 11 years studying with my East Indian teacher, Santakar Singh, I was initiated at age 24 into Surat Shabd Yoga, the light and sound meditation. I noticed in the ashram that people were not very grounded. And I saw people floating a lot of times, especially after becoming a Reiki master. I saw people out of their bodies most of the time. And I realized that many of the issues that I had in my younger days, I couldn't get grounded. I meditated so many hours a day that it was really difficult for me to be planted on the earth and grounded so that I could deal with you know, what the day brought.
Mm.
I was sensitive to light in the Fred Meyer store. You know, neon lights were just horrible for my body, and foods, and you know, if I ate the wrong food, I would immediately react to it. I couldn't eat chocolate. I couldn't do anything. I had become so clean. My body had become so clean over the years of being on raw food and so forth that I couldn't handle this outside normal world.
Mm-hmm, right.
So I thought, oh boy, I have to pollute myself a little bit so I can handle it. Give me a big steak. No, I never did succumb to the steak. I could not do it. I still couldn't do it after 40 years. Haven't had red meat in a very long time. Don't want it. But the point is, I met one of my teachers right after India in 1996 or 1994 in Mexico. And he taught me golden light meditation. It was all about grounding and realizing that on the path of the masters where I was for all those years, it was wonderful. While it was wonderful, we were really not taught how to bring all of that energy that we received from the cosmos back through the body and into the earth. And so I wanted to find a system that would bring that golden light in and through the body. And so I will post my meditation on the bottom of this video today, so you can do the meditation. It's quite wonderful because it clears emotions, you know, that are stuck in the body. When we're little, we absorb everything like a sponge, and then we stuff it into the body, and then that creates our reality. And so we repeat the same pattern over and over and over, the same marriage or the same relationships, the same conflict over and over and over. And so this is what I've been so passionate about in the last 30 years, helping people to get out of patterns.
Yeah. No, post it. That's useful. I mean, one of the things that I used to teach, well, government operatives, I guess, is a similar meditation that started out by drawing from Mother Earth chakra, bringing all the way up through all of the chakras and exploding up into stuff. Yes, absolutely.
So how do you deprogram somebody who was in the government like this?
Well, my job wasn't deprogramming. My job of deprogramming came later. My job was to facilitate programming. But a lot of the work that I did to keep these people safe was your basic chakra meditation, to keep everybody pure and clear and vital and stable. The side effect to that, of course, is people start to figure out that perhaps they're not serving the right side.
Exactly, because they're now in touch with the light energy, and they're realizing all the rest of the debris that comes with it that they're absorbing.
Yeah, so I was moved to another department.
Interesting. And then eventually sent to the United States.
Yeah, I sort of ended up here. Isn't that interesting? You know, and I still do I mean, I have no regrets. I wouldn't know the things I know. You know, how would I have known how to deal with Luciferian programming? because I have to use everything that I learned, because I deal with people who have been programmed and ritually abused by the core Luciferians within the Catholic Church. You know, how would I know how to deal with all of the things that I deal with, which quite frankly, I'm not an emotional person, but it breaks my heart to see what humans can do to each other. How would I know how to deal with this insanity? And some of it is beyond repair in this particular lifetime, if I hadn't stuck it out. And I'm very glad that I did.
Well, I see a lot of soul fractures almost. It's like where there's a split in people. You can't get them back.
Nope. My way of dealing with something that's that severe, and I perfectly I will admit that not everybody can be helped, or perhaps they can, but certainly not by me. But I've got a very high success rate with all but the very broken. And I just said, look, I know how these programs were written, and going in and what you've got to do. To any energy worker out there who's dealing with something they just absolutely don't know or don't have a frame of reference, don't bother about removing programs, corrupting programs, or even understanding who wrote them initially. Reinstall the original golden light blueprints of perfection, the original RNA DNA codes that were created pre-embodiment there's one for every race, and there's certainly one for humanoids.
So why golden light? Why golden light? What is the difference between golden light and white light? I would like to know from you.
Whenever I am joined in healing in a divine setting, which is always, and I open up my senses so that I can see color, it's always golden light, because it is absolutely complete minus 1 point. The pure white light is the pure potential of source energy, completely pre-embodiment. And I see that sometimes, and it's most beautiful and it's most glorious, but it's very, very powerful. In a healing situation, when people are in body, the golden light brings in the original coding, but it's the highest form of healing that a human body can take on a continual basis, if that makes sense.
I also call it the Christ or Buddha light.
Yep. You know,
remember, Christ did not establish the church.
Yes, religion is a man-made construct. It doesn't exist in the heavenly realms.
God made man and man made religion.
And one day people will sit down and realize that the tenets of all religions are the same. Don't hurt each other, don't hurt the planet, and everything else is an amendment that doesn't need to be, it can just be written out. We'll come to it one day, or not.
We will. I just wish the Pleiadians would come in here a little bit faster. But it is a free will planet, so we have to ask them to come. Yeah,
I mean, it's a free will planet, and they're very limited in what they can do. And while the Pleiadians are the vast majority of the fleet around this planet, there's also Arcturians and Andromedans and various other observer races. So whenever I talk to my Pleiadian friends in Ashtar Command, Commander Hatton and all those good, wonderful, giant golden beings, they're like 10 foot tall and beaming and just incredible. You know, they say, look, we started coming around 1913 in your time, because Mother Earth cried out to the God of this universe and said, oh my God, literally, OMG, these people, I love them, but they're killing me. World wars, and now we're going to have another one, and it's their blood. Mother Earth was going to go into Ice Age around 1913. She just couldn't take it anymore, and she so very much wanted to be alive in her physical body, so after the ascension process, she could ascend in her physical body, because you get so much more brownie points for that, you see. And the divine said, don't worry, Gaia, I'm on it, and sent a lot of these ships to repair Mother Earth's chakra. And they say that what they call it is we put a universal light fortress around her. Fortress sounds like it's blocked in, but it's not. It's permeable.
Mhm.
And those ships have been circling. They do 78-year rotations, apparently, which doesn't seem a long time for them. Coming and going, mainly Palladians, but also Arcturians, protecting Mother Earth until she was able to ascend back into her body, into her full body, until she was strong enough. So they've been here a very long time. They help us in ways that we don't realize. They are able to make human bodies, and it takes them apparently around 6 months to be accustomed to using them. And then they can make up an identity and integrate it into our Earth system. And there are aliens, extraterrestrial family, placed in top positions of military industrial complex, financial complex, pharmaceutical industry, all of the aspects that run our lives that deep state are involved in. And my last conversation with them is, they were very frustrated at how difficult it was to separate deep state from their power and influence and money. And my question was, I understand you can't just come in with phaser guns and blast everybody. That would be awesome. But we understand you can't do that. What is holding you back? You're these multidimensional beings. And they said, the lack of awareness on the planet. People still identify with their captors. Mm-hmm. And for as long as that happens, we can't contradict God's free will clause. Mm-hmm. But they're helping.
So what is Donald Trump's role?
Donald Trump. I'm just going to take a moment for everybody not to be triggered out there when we say that word.
Okay, so if we talk about this, just for one moment, come out of judgment and out of your program and pretend you don't know anything.
Yes. Good point, because I'm going to say that most people don't know anything about Donald Trump, that they haven't been fed in the carefully crafted and manipulated media. Mm-hmm. So, and if you're honest with yourselves, you'll realize that that's true. So, Donald Trump, I think probably the last thing he wanted to do was be president of the United States. Because he's a billionaire, he's got everything he needs. And now he's, sacrificing his life for this country. His role in it was this, that he did make a soul contract that said, if all else failed, and if the corruption, the Luciferian corruption, became so obscene that this country, America, which is supposed to be a beacon of secular spirituality for the rest of the world, collapses into the dark hands and literally becomes just a money laundering operation, then I will step in. And it was the military, the patriots in the military, that were about to have a coup. But they didn't want to have a coup because it's not American. Mm-hmm. And they invited Donald Trump in and said, look, rather than have an all-out coup, will you step in and be head of state? And we will support you. And after he was fully briefed on what was going on, he said, yes. This is the short version. I'm giving everybody the short version, okay? So, and we know that the moment that he even announced his candidacy back in 2015, Deep State went mad. They lost it. They went ballistic. And even before he was even elected, they started to think of ways to impeach him. All Donald Trump stands for is to restore capitalism to its true form, which is compassionate capitalism, without need, without greed, without branding, without invoking desire, unwanted desire. And just, if you need a pair of sneakers, go out and buy a $20 pair of sneakers. You put a brand label on it, charge $200, your kid screams at you if they can't have it. This is what's corrupted capitalism. Capitalism is a great system, but it requires a moral compass. Donald Trump also understands that everything is built on sand and corruption, and he wants to instigate draining the swamp, Nasara, the original name of the National Economic Security and I always get it wrong. I look at it every day. And Reformation Act is draining the swamp, monetary and fiscal reform, Nasara. He wants to take the money back from the banks behind the banks. He wants to dissolve the Federal Reserve, take away its power, and print the money again as Americans, not having to borrow the money at high interest from the Federal Reserve. So he wants to restore the monetary and fiscal system back on fair and equitable terms, which means that the Americans and therefore the rest of the world do not live as slaves to perpetual revolving debt. That is liberation. And the rest, I think, we'll see how the chips are falling as step by step by step. He attempts to, and he will succeed, to restore America to a republic, not to a corporation, and take back our national sovereignty, unity through diversity, and not buy into this evil globalist agenda of homogenizing the world and running the world as a company.
So what's going on currently with the World Health Organization? Obviously, everybody is very upset when he announced yesterday or the day before that he cuts funding or temporarily halts funding.
I'm not upset. Mm-hmm. I'm thrilled. Bill Gates is a computer nerd mm-hmm. who can't even keep viruses out of his own software. And now he's this self-proclaimed guru telling the rest of the world they need to be microchipped and surveillance and all of that. He's a major contributor to the World Health Organization. And so the World Health Organization need Bill Gates more than ever now because we've stopped funding them. Mm-hmm. And if somebody is a major contributor to your organization, then I think it's naive to assume that they don't have a big say in the agenda of that organization.
Well, Bill Gates appears like on TV, you know, in any interview. I just saw an interview this morning with Ellen DeGeneres and Bill Gates. I don't know if you caught that recording. You know, everybody portrays him as such a nice guy, such a do-gooder, you know, such a philanthropist, such a caring, loving father image. But
who won't vaccinate his children?
Pardon me?
Who won't vaccinate his children?
Right, he won't vaccinate his own children, but he wants to microchip us all, the whole planet, ideally, which of course would be on you know, the final accomplishment of this Orwellian reality that we're being pushed into. And people are absolutely upset about it. I mean, I'm impressed that people are putting their foot down. I have been watching the reaction of people, you know, when you say, well, how would you like to be microchipped? I mean, some people just flood toward it and others definitely won't go.
Yeah. You know, I'm surprised, but in a good way. And I'm delighted that people are beginning to wake up because they're finally figuring out you can leave your cell phone at home and not be tracked, but you can't take a microchip out of your body. I think Fox News did a segment the other day really exposing Bill Gates and Fauci and their relationship together. And I think for the most part, Petra, people just repeat what they hear. We know that. But for the most part, people didn't know that Bill Gates funded the World Health Organization. The question I ask people is, why are you taking medical advice from a computer programmer? Why haven't you figured that portion out? You know, I think everybody needs to wake up and be very grateful that there is a small group of patriots who are working very, very hard on your behalf, and you ridicule them. You know, so it's growing. The movement is growing. There was in Michigan the other day. They took to the streets to protest the shutdown in Lansing, Michigan.
I saw that, yeah.
And I think they're going to do it in Salem here on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. And we're going to see more and more of that. And they're not doing it for any seditionist civil disobedience purpose just to be. They're doing it because they've figured out that this is not about the virus. And that makes my heart very, very happy. And it makes the aliens very happy.
You're going to be there, I'm sure.
Maybe.
Maybe. Will we see full disclosure in our lifetimes?
I think yes, but I don't know. But then again, I think yes.
Well, the last book in the Billionaire series that, is called
I read it.
And you read it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking now I need to write a fourth book because of everything that's just happened.
Yeah.
And I want to call it The Great Awakening, because I do have faith in humanity that people will be waking up. I've been in the last few weeks inundated with biofeedback sessions and all kinds of different healing sessions. And I think people are waking up.
No, they are. They are. I've had dozens of emails. I don't usually, like I said, I don't get this. People have been emailing me and saying, I worked with you 7 years ago, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I look at your posts, I read your newsletters. I finally get it. Thank you for being persistent.
Mm-hmm.
Pennies dropping.
Exactly. Well, I'm excited about it. So coming back to the little gray guys, are they good or bad?
Little grays are people. They're a good and they're a bad. But for the most part, the little grays really only came here because they had soul contracts with humans who wanted to share their DNA with them, because the little grays, they lost the ability to reproduce naturally, using the normal methods, the Twinkie and the donut method. They can't do that anymore. So they've been cloning themselves. And when it happens, the information is passed down, but there's no emotional response. There's no warmth, and you lose your empathy. Mm-hmm. They had soul contracts with various humans to come in and not to abduct them and to do horrible things to them, but to share the DNA, to share some sperm, share some blood, give an ovary, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And when they came in to speak to the authorities, and that was their mistake, they came in to speak to the authorities, the top honchos of the American military industrial complex at that time in the 40s. They said, look, we've got these soul contracts. We'd like permission to go ahead and do it. The military industrial complex said to them, oh, sure. Would you like to trade some technology? And they said, well, we're very good at cloning. Would you like that? And they said, sure, we'd love that. And then they went ahead and they abducted the aliens, which really pissed off the rest of the landing crews, who went ahead and visited those humans. But somehow, because official permission, again, ritual, official permission wasn't given, the humans weren't awakened to their particular soul contracts. And they were rather terrified and saw it as an abduction, as opposed to something that they had agreed to. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I've read hundreds of accounts of abduction, and I can tell you that as frightened as people were, one thing that is very obvious is that the little grays were always saying, always trying to, what can we do to stop you screaming? What can we do to make you comfortable? What can we use so you don't fear us? So, little grays, on the whole, they're just quite lovely. They just want their empathy back. That's all it was.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I had when I was living in Mexico, I became quite homesick for the United States. And I was driving in Chula Vista one day with my partner, Christopher, and I saw the House of Munich restaurant. And I thought, since I am from Munich, I had to go in there, even to get a pretzel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
I've been living on the beach in near Ensenada now for a year or so. So I walked into the restaurant and met this Amazon woman, Anna. And she immediately greeted me with open arms. And then somehow I became intertwined in her family. And one day she called me up in Mexico and said that she had to go to Russia. And could I look after the restaurant for a couple of weeks? But right before that, she started dating this gentleman, Frank, who apparently was in the FBI. So Frank shows up at the restaurant when Anna was in Russia. And so I sat one night after the restaurant had closed at 11 o'clock, and I asked Frank, I said, now that you're here with me, but all alone, is this whole alien thing really true? And he gave me some, in those days, we still had those audio tapes.
Right.
We didn't even have CDs then.
Yeah.
And he gave me a couple of tapes and said, yeah, listen to it. And a whole lot more is true than what you can even imagine. And so a few days later, he asked me if his son Paul could come down to our house in Mexico and hang out with us for the weekend. So we picked Paul up. And the entire time while Paul was in Mexico, and we went down to the beach, we went to the resort next door, he had this attaché case that never left his side. And he asked me 1,001 questions about my life in the ashram, my life in India, why I went to a meeting in Portland where they discussed gold dust. And half the audience were geeky people in suits, and the other half were Krishna devotees and people in robes praying. And I didn't even know what that was about. I just found myself there. And apparently it was a substance where they had managed to separate gold and the chemical construct of gold somehow, when you do certain things to it, can take you into some kind of astral heaven.
Ooh, true alchemy.
True alchemy. And I have some lifetimes as an alchemist. So for me, this was very, very interesting. We drove Paul back over through the border from Mexico to US. And he showed some kind of pass that was not a green card or, like a driver's license for Americans that they normally show, or my green card. And immediately at the border, everybody stood in salute to him. So I said, who is this guy? Oh my God, what just happened?
Men in Black, baby.
I know. I was right there. And maybe this was an investigation. I don't know. I just assumed he needed a little break from his regular life, but perhaps not.
He picked your brains.
He picked my brains. I'm sure I got recorded.
I'm sure you did. I hope you gave him a giant invoice.
Well, Ani, it's always such a pleasure chatting with you. And you feel to me, just looking at you, that you're very happy. Yes?
How can I not be? It's the Great Awakening.
It's the Great Awakening.
Yeah.
So when this is all over, it sounds like Trump's lifting the quarantine, probably for Oregon. It sounds like we will have some shops open here shortly, and a few things going back to normal. I'm sure he'll push that through, even though they're trying very hard to block it.
I think it's time. I'm not on his team. I wish I was. But I think it's getting close to the time where they're going to have to get up and actually spell out to people what's been happening.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
It has to stop. This manipulation has to stop. People are waking up and getting upset, and they need to. They need to speak out. They need to get out in the streets and speak out. Well, I wish you a wonderful afternoon. I hope your computer gets fixed again and your partner is able to save the hard drive. I know that's super hard. I hate uploading things to the cloud. And if my computer crashed right now, it would not be a good thing.
It would not. It will all work out. Petra, thank you so much for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to chat with you.
Likewise. Have a good day. Namaste.
Namaste.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.